Alright, so AOTR Update 3 is finally here, which means the female Titan has been released, and I've been using her for a little bit yet. Haven't fully maxed her out yet, but I think I found the most broken build you can possibly use on her, and it's probably not what you think. I think this Titan is probably by far the best Titan in the entire game. It far outshines the Attack Titan and the Armored Titan for me personally. If you set it up right and you get everything perfect, she can be an absolute monster in both raid and missions. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so let's first cover what I'm actually using and the setup I'm using to basically get the most amount of damage out of her possible. And it is a little bit of a weird setup. You're probably not used to seeing something like this before, and that is because if we go to my skills, I am of course using Fritz. If you don't have Fritz, you can use something like Jaeger, but Fritz is going to give you the most out of this build 100%. So if you do have it, you're in luck. But when we come down to our damage tree down here, we're actually going to go across to the right side and go down to the crit side. And the reason we do this is because the female Titan scales incredibly well with crit damage. Now, I'm not quite sure if anyone's really noticed or like made this build yet, but like I've just kind of been experimenting on my own right now, and what I've done is I've gone down the crit tree because I think she's a beast with crit, and you can just go down the right side or left side here for your tank path, and obviously try to get down to the cooldown reduction too as well on this side as well, because cooldown's really important for this build as well, but not as important as damage in my opinion. Alright, so as for perks, we have all mythical perks set up. Of course, again, we're running Fritz, so we get that extra slots or 2 extra slots for perks. Now the perks I am running in the body slot, I am running Founder's Blessing. You basically need this perk. It's super overpowered. It can shift a bunch of times. Its awakening bar is insane. Gives you tons of shift to stats, just like increased by flat 15% when fully maxed out. Great perk. Right, offense. Now this is where it gets a little bit weird. So we aren't using Art of War, which is usually what people use for shifter builds. We're actually going to be using something called Black Flash. Now the reason I'm using Black Flash is very simple. These 2 first lines are completely useless. We're looking at this 3rd one right here. This deal maximum damage every crit is very important. Basically, every time we crit, we're going to deal the most amount of damage we possibly can, and that is why you need to run Black Flash. Now, you don't really need to max this out because you get this perk as soon as you basically have Black Flash, so you can run this at level 0 if you want. It won't make a difference. Now, as for defense, this is very important. You need to have Adaptation and also Immortal. Immortal's going to make you a little bit more tanky, so you don't get one shot, and Adaptation is incredibly important because you're going to take more damage, which is very important. I'll get into that later, why that's important. And you're also going to get like a stun negation. They basically won't be able to stun you, and you'll just basically be able to go infinite M1s. It's really broken. I'll show you that in a minute when we get into the raids. And as for support, you can run anything here. You can run Soul Feed or you can run Tatsugen. It doesn't really make that much of a difference. I like Soul Feed just because I can see the outlines of Titans, which is very useful. You can also run Sixth Sense, which is a legendary perk down here. It does the exact same thing. Okay, so if you guys are Prestige, these are the talents that I am running. Fury Forge is very important. I did say you want to take damage, which is why using Adaptation. That's because of Fury Forge. Basically, the more health you're missing, the more damage you will deal. Fury Forge is really good. You basically want to sit around basically no HP during this entire fight process. You want to be like sitting around 25 HP or 25% HP to deal the most amount of damage without, you know, hopefully dying. Quake Strike is really good for most raids except the Female Titan raid because you can't really stack it in the Female Titan raid. Apotheosis is really, really good in the Female Titan raid because you can shift right away as long as you get the timing down for all the minigame at the start. And I use cooldown blitz if I'm doing solo runs because obviously skill cooldown reduction is great. But if you are doing it with a bunch of other shifters, you can use Storm Charged, which is very good as well. Okay, so as for artifacts, I am running, of course, Scars. Scars is by far the best thing. You need to run this if you are, like, you just get a ton of, like, shifter stats. Gives you a ton of damage as well. Scars is great. I'd recommend running this. If you don't have this, just run Crown with max shifter damage enabled. But even you can see, I'm dealing so much damage in raids, bro, and I don't even have my, like, stats here completely maxed out. Yeah, I got an 8.2 out of a 10.5. It's completely terrible, but it still does. I still do heaps of damage. I'm just lazy. But as you can see here, you can use Scarf if you really want to. I don't recommend it though. Use the new hoodie that you get from the Female Titan Titan raid, because you just get a flat 10% damage boost, which is great. Now, moving into abilities, I recommend highly that you make sure you get all your residents all the way up to at least Unyielding Will, because this is why I say the female Titan scales with crit damage and crit chance, is because while in Crimson Bloom state, you basically gain 2% crit damage and 1% crit chance per Crimson Bloom mastery level, which is this one right here, which is very, very good. This is going to be very, very overpowered. And as you can see, I don't have this very maxed out. And I'm going to show you how much damage I do with like everything like this. But you can imagine I'm going to do way more damage once all this is maxed out as well. Okay, so now that we've gotten through all the nitty gritty, I'm actually going to go into a raid for you guys. Now, I'm going to do all 3 raids. I'm going to do the Attack Titan raid, the Armored raid, and the Female raid. So we're just going to start off with the Attack Titan raid. I'll max this one out on Aberrant. And I'm just going to put on basically every single modifier except Oddball. I don't like using Oddball until I've maxed out my Female Titan stats, just purely because you can get one shot if you're not careful with this build. So you just got to be a little bit safe when you're running and you haven't maxed things out. Basically put everything on except for Glass Cannon, Boring, Simple, Oddball, and these 3. Alright, so we're getting into the raid here. Now, obviously, the first part of this, you just want to run like you normally do. You just want to clear out all the Titans, transform, and basically make it so they don't destroy the boulder. Okay, so when you actually get into the final raid, you will notice that you deal an absolute ton of damage. Now, the way adaptation works is basically you're going to get stunned for a little bit at the start of the fight, but as you can see, eventually you'll get to the point where you just don't get stunned anymore, and you can just keep on punching. Just keep on punching and deal an absolute ridiculous amount of damage. And the lower health you get, the more damage you're going to deal. So it just becomes even more broken. As you can see, he's already on 50% HP, and we are absolutely cooking him alive, bro. Eventually, he's going to transform into his Rage Ascended form. And this is usually where I like to use my abilities, like my number 2 here, and I'll just quickly heal so I don't get one shot, pop my hardening, and just absolutely destroy him and finish him off like this. And you can see that was extremely quickly. I mean, we just blitzed through that. I didn't even stop recording for it. We'll check how long that took me. I guarantee it was like no time at all there. Yeah, I smashed that out in 2 minutes and 6 seconds. And that is not even close to being maxed out on the Female Titan either. You can make this, it will go down like 20 seconds more once I max out the damage and stuff like that. And I haven't really been practicing this too much, but 2 minutes for an Aberrant raid is pretty ridiculous. Alright, so moving on to the Armored Titan raid. This one's pretty much the same one. You just basically want to stop these ships from getting destroyed. It's not hard to do. You just like let them stack up, and then you just pop all your abilities, get your Titan Shifter, and then yeah, just kind of cook. All right, there we go. You only need to let 2 boats go in, by the way. If you like let all 3 boats die, or 2 boats die, you lose. So just make sure you get 3 at least in. And then basically, like we did before, you just want to absolutely M1 this guy, and just hopefully he doesn't scream too much, otherwise it will slow down your progress a little bit. But as you can see, he doesn't stun you because you have adaptation. It's completely broken, and this guy does a lot less damage, so it takes a little bit longer to clear this one. But as you can see, if he does hit you, he will absolutely wham you with an attack every once in a while. So you got to be a little bit careful with this guy. As you can see there, we beat him. It's probably the Armored Titan raid is probably the longest, just because he's a little bit more tanky than the Attack Titan, and of course the Female Titan as well. So just bear that in mind. It does take a little bit longer to beat this raid than usual. You can see we still beat it though in 2 minutes, which is pretty good considering, again, I haven't practiced this and I basically haven't maxed out my Female Titan either. All right, so time for the brand new Female Titan raid. Now this starting part is really important because you have to basically make sure you get every single one of these quick time events. Otherwise, you're going to slow down your progress massively. So try not to mess up. I'm usually pretty bad at these, honestly. I mess it up quite frequently, so just try not to be me and try to not be bad. Alright, we didn't mess up any of it, and basically what that means, because we have Apotheosis, we can basically transform on a 60% Awakening bar, which means we can transform straight away, which is OP. So I can just transform, and then basically get right into just completely destroying the Female Titan right away. Alright, there we go. We cooked pretty good on that one. That was probably a little bit slower than what I normally get. I think I messed it up a little bit, but for the most part, it still should be like 2 minutes, or a little bit over 2 minutes. We'll have a look. What I get? 2 minutes, 18 seconds. Actually not bad at all. So you can complete these raids very fast, as I said. I think this build is absolutely broken. Hopefully they don't nerf it. I don't know. But it is pretty hard to do because you do need a mythic family. You do need a lot of perks. But if you guys are pretty set up and you do want a female Titan build, this is what I recommend. I hope this video helped you guys, and I hope you guys use this build, and I'll see you guys in the next video.